Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Thank you for joining me in this live section. Guys, I have a lot to tell you guys. If you're new to this channel, hit that subscribe button and like and share this video. Guys, AG Mako, the legal counsel of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, has come out to reveal some truths, guys. The hidden fact about Kanu, some of you don't know about these things. He has come out, to say what some might not know, and the media, they don't want to show the public what is actually going on. So Ejimako has come out. I'm going to play you guys a video, in this live section, so that you get the full gist for yourself. Ejimako came out, the legal counsel of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu came out to say a lot of things, and then I'm going to be bringing some people, to come up and talk. Yes, I want to know your points. Yeah, you come out and talk and you share your thoughts with us here in this live session. Guys, stay tuned. Like, stay with me. I have a lot to tell you guys. So now, in Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's case, they call it justice. But you see, justice that ignores court rulings violates borders. And silences voices is not justice at all. Justice that ignores court rulings violates borders and silence voices. That is not justice. This is the story of how Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, was hunted, kidnapped, and is still being held till today. So, Ejimako has come out to tell the story of what exactly happened, how he was kidnapped, how they put him in the vehicle and drove him, in Kenya, drove him to the airport, how they, how everything happened. Now you're going to know this thing, the secret thing, the facts that happened. There are some things that happen. You're hearing extraordinary redemption. There are some things that happen that you don't know. In this live section, you're going to hear the voice of Ejimako, and then he's going to tell you everything that happened secretly with Kanu, how the operation that happened, how he was how he was brought back to Kenya, how he was adopted. In this live section, you're going to know all the secret things that happened, in his kidnap from Kenya to Nigeria. So this is the story of how Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. I'm going to still play a video for you guys to, listen to what Ejimako said. So this is the story of how Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, was hunted, kidnapped, and still being held till today, despite a mountain of legal victories in his favor. Guys, you guys know that, Kanu won in Abia State. He also won in Abuja, but they're still keeping him till now, despite a mountain of legal victories in his favor. Guys, stay with me because I'll be bringing up some people, to come and talk about, to share their own thoughts. Yes, and I'll be very glad to have you as my guest today. So, guys, stay with me. A lot to be happening today. I'll be exposing a lot of truths. And then Ejimako, you will hear for yourself what Ejimako said about Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. So now the Nigerian government is not just prosecuting a man, they are prosecuting a very idea of self-determination, which is not a crime. It all began with microphone. You guys know, from the studio of Radio Biafra, Kanu's voice cut through the silence of fear in the southeast. If you can hear me, please let me know that in the comment section that you can hear me. And then we'll move on. So it began with a microphone, like I said, from the studios of Radio Biafra. Kanu's voice cut through the silence of fear in the southeast. He spoke of the marginalization of the Igbos and the broken promises after the civil war of a Nigeria that refused to treat the Igbo nation as equal. So because of Kanu, it all started with microphone, from Radio Biafra. Kanu spoke about the marginalization of the Igbos, and then the broken promises after the civil war, and the fact that Nigeria refused to treat Igbos or the Igbo nation as equal. They were treated them differently, as if they were last class citizens. That was the basic things Mazi Nnamdi Kanu was voicing out with his microphone, and then they went after him. So guys, like I said, stay tuned because I'll be bringing up some people here in this live session to come and share your thoughts with us. Stay tuned. I have a lot to also tell you guys. And then in this live section, you'll be hearing what Ejimako said about Kanu. Guys, he said many things about him, his secret retention, how it all happened. Some things me and you don't even know. You're going to get to know all these gist in this live session. So now, for some heroes, for some people he was a hero. For the government, he was a threat. Yes, people Igbo see Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, not just Igbo or even Yorubas outside, they see Mazi Nnamdi Kanu as a hero because what he was saying there, his warnings then, all his preachings then is what is happening to you today. And both Hausa people and people that never wanted to hear his voice then, people that never believed in him, they're not realizing that this man is actually a hero and he meant well for Nigerian government. But Nigerian government sees Kanu as a threat. Even even IPOB, his movement, they see it as a threat. Now, um millions, he has because of he has been detained illegally, it gave him a lot of supporters. But instead of addressing the grievance of why, in fact, instead of addressing the core root of why Kanu started agitating, Abuja choose confrontation. In 2015, they arrested him on charges of treasonable felony. His decision sparked protests across Nigeria and in the diaspora, guys. In 2017, a court granted Kanu bail, but just months later, Nigerian soldiers stormed his home in, Afaruku. Was in Abia State. They, with gunfire, guys, dead bodies and a lot, in fact, a lot of people lost their life in that rat. Chaos and everything. After that rat, Kanu vanished. His supporters said the military tried to assassinate him. The government called it a security operation, but a court later declared that the invasion was actually illegal. Guys, do you know till today, no apology, no accountability of what happened in 2017 when Nigerian soldiers stormed his house and killed a lot of people. His elderly parents even sustained injuries. Even Kanu himself sustained injuries, but he narrowly escaped, and that was how he left Nigeria. For years, Kanu has remained abroad. Then in June 2021, the unthinkable happened, guys. The unthinkable happened. He was in Kenya, suddenly gone. No extradition process. So, he finally suddenly got missing in Kenya. No extradition process, no court order. His lawyers and family say he was adopted, tortured, and smuggled to Nigeria in acts of extraordinary redemption. Now, the Nigerian government they had intercepted him, but never explained how Interpol denied any involvement. Kenya kept silent for how many years? Not for them to come and start saying now that Kenya was Mazi Nnamdi Kanu was kidnapped. So, guys, like I said, stay tuned. I'll soon be bringing up people to come and share their own thoughts with us. So stay tuned. I will soon be bringing up people to come and share their own thoughts with us here, so that I can also get your own what you're saying about this headline. Today is going to be a very interactive section, because people will come up and share their own thoughts. So I'm going to be placing the link under the comment section, and then you click on it and I'll bring you up, and then you share your own thoughts with us, so we can get where you're also coming from. Now, like I said, Kanu was kidnapped. Until today, Nigerian government has not apologized. They have not even admitted that they kidnapped him, even despite several courts in abroad have said that Kanu was kidnapped. No apology, no accountability for that, guys. Now, the Nigerian state has bragged they had intercepted him, but never explained how. They never explained how. Guys, one by one, the judgments rolled in. Even the UN Working Group on Arbitrary Detention said his arrest and detention was unlawful. The Nigerian Court of Appeal squashed the charges. They acquitted him, saying that his extraordinary redemption stripped the trial of legitimacy. And just this year, a Kenya High Court ordered damages, calling the 2021 transfer unconstitutional. Yet Abuja ignored it all. In 2023, Nigerian Supreme Court, reinstated the charges, admitting the government acted wrongly, but still insisting the trial must go on. This is why his lawyers, Aloy Ejimako, sees any trial now. He says it's not by law, but it's a trial by ordeal. That is what Aloy Ejimako said. I'm going to play you a video of Aloy Ejimako. Stay tuned so that you get all the points he said about Kanu. Now, this isn't just about Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. It's about whether a government can break its own law, defy its own courts, and still call itself a democracy. I've not seen a country that said that they practice democracy. You will still break your own law, you defy your own courts, and then you brag that you're practicing democracy. That's not a democracy. That's not a country that practices democracy. That's dictatorship, guys. It's about the Southeast decades long cry for fairness. For a long time now, the Southeast has been crying for fairness, equal treatment. For long now, even after the Civil War, they have been enjoying all these things. And a federal government that answers, what they do is to answer them with soldiers instead of the solution. If the states can get away with this extraordinary detention today, who is safe tomorrow? Nobody is safe. It can happen to anyone as well. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's case is a test of Nigerian soul. The court has spoken, international bodies has as well spoken, but the government keeps dragging him through a process that no longer has a legal leg to stand on. And until Nigeria respects the rule of law, the world will keep asking, is this justice or is this persecution? Of course, we can clearly say that this is actually persecution. Now, before I start bringing up people to these live sessions to come and share their thoughts, take a look at what, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's lawyer, Aloy Ejimako, said. Guys, just take your time. If you're busy, quietly, finish up what you're doing and come back and watch this video from beginning to end. Because Aloy Ejimako exposed a lot of things going on. And if you're free, guys, just balance and listen to what this man said. Aloy Ejimako exposed some things me and you don't know that happened in this extraordinary detention, how they treated him, guys. Now, take a look at what, he said, his lawyer, Aloy Ejimako. Take a look.
So today I'm wearing two hats. I'm speaking on behalf of Nnamdi Kanu. I'm also speaking on my own behalf. My name is Aloy Ejimako. I'm the special counsel to Mazi Nnamdi Kanu and the indigenous people of Biafra. And I'm speaking to you from a location in Nigeria. The man, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, is well known. He's everywhere. He's on Wikipedia. He's an internationally acclaimed freedom fighter. But there's just a few things I need to tell you about him. What brought him to limelight was the formation of the indigenous people of Biafra in the United Kingdom in 2012. Simultaneously, he also founded Radio Biafra. And these two organizations were aimed at one thing: liberation for the people of Biafra, or restoration of the former Republic of Biafra that went defunct in 1970. The right to self-determination is a right that is guaranteed internationally, domestically, and continentally. It's within the black letters of Nigerian law at Article 20 of the African Charter on Human and People's Rights. The right to self-determination is guaranteed. So the formation of IPOB did not break any law. Not laws of United Kingdom, not international law, not Nigerian law. But guess what? When Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, who was born in Nigeria, but who acquired British citizenship later on, came to Nigeria in October 2015, the government of President Muhammadu Buhari, which had come to power in May, decided to arrest him. He was not arrested between 2012 and 2015 because the government of the day at that time understood that self-determination is not a crime. But the government that came into power in 2015 in May decided that self-determination is going to be treated as a criminal activity. So he was arrested in Lagos. He was charged for treason, also for insulting the president and illegal importation of ready equipment. 3 charges. The treason one, they split it into 2, treason by himself and treason by conspiracy. This thing went on from 2015 until April 2017, when he was eventually granted bail. So he was detained for nearly 18 months. After granting him bail, he returned to his ancestral home in the southeastern part of Nigeria, and he was enjoying his bail when suddenly, between 10 September and 14 September 2017, the Nigerian army, without any justification whatsoever, levied lethal, massive military operations against Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's ancestral home. That day, he was sitting at home with so many people, his family members, including his 2 elderly parents. The attack was lightning, it was a bleakridge, it was massive, and it was not the type of an attack you will expect a national military force to levy on a civilian location. But they did. At the end of the day, 28 people lost their lives, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu sustained injuries. His parents sustained injuries as well, but somehow, by the grace of God, they all managed to escape. From there, the rest is history. And because there was a national and international manhunt for him by the security forces, which rules of engagement was to shoot, not to maim. If you see Nnamdi Kanu, if you encounter him anywhere, shoot not to maim. Not to maim, but shoot to kill. That's what they went there to do on 10 September, but they didn't succeed. But it went on. They went on in a manhunt. So Nnamdi Kanu was forced to flee the municipal boundaries of Nigeria in search of safe haven overseas. Eventually, in May 2021, he settled in Kenya. He entered Nairobi and settled in Kenya somewhere. He never knew that Nigerian security forces, the international branch of it, were laying in wait for him. They led an ambush for him. So on 19th June 2021, he drove himself to Jomo Kenyatta International Airport on a personal errand. As soon as he drove into the parking lot and alighted from his vehicle, several well-armed security men suspected to be of a mixture of Nigerian and Kenyan security forces swooped on him, grabbed him, abducted him, and put him forcibly in a vehicle and drove away. Well, they didn't take him to the police station. They didn't take him to immigration because he was a foreigner. He should have been taken to immigration. They didn't take him to any official law enforcement facility. They took him to a secret location in Nairobi, a non-official secret location. So in effect, they disappeared him. And they kept him at that secret location for a whole 8 days. And those 8 days he endured horrendous torture. All these are matters of record between the various tribunals and courts before whom this matter has been brought. I cannot begin to give you all the details. Horrendous torture in violation of basic human rights, in violation of the laws of Kenya, Nigeria, and the international community. When Nnamdi Kanu was abducted on 19th June 2021, the proper thing that should have been done is to take him to a police station, from there to a court. And then if you wanted him back in Nigeria, you subject him to what is called extradition proceedings. This is a basic tenet of the law that you see in the laws of any nation. Kenya has an extradition act to which Mazi Nnamdi Kanu should have been subjected. But guess what? They didn't do that. They rather disappeared him for 8 days, tortured him to their heart's content. And on 27th June, they secretly brought him out from this location and took him through the back doors, evading Kenyan immigration, direct to the tarmac of Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, Nairobi, where a private plane was waiting. They bundled him into the plane, chained him to the chair, and everything. He endured 5-6 hours flight from Nairobi to Kenya in the most excruciating circumstances. They arrived in Nigeria late in the evening and the plane flew back to Nairobi. They took him to the headquarters of the National Intelligence Agency in Abuja, where he spent the first night with all the lights left on to assure his maximum discomfort. The following day, they transferred him to the headquarters of Directorate of State Security in Abuja. And on the third day, they brought him before the Federal High Court in Abuja. The Federal High Court was well aware that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu has counsel of record. It was an open case, it wasn't a new case, a pre-existing case. But the Federal High Court decided to conduct the arraignment in violation of his constitutional right to counsel, and that arraignment led to the indefinite detention with which we are struggling today.
Okay, I'm going to continue that video, but this man came out to say, some things me and you don't know that happened, the extraordinary redemption, how they kidnapped him, the things that me and you don't know. I will continue that video because that man said a lot of things. Now, let's start from where he said, after the RAD, or, the Nigerian soldier, they came into his community in Abia State and spied 28 persons, guys. In his community, this is happening in his home in Abia State. Kanu was there with a lot of persons, with his siblings, with even his elderly parents. His elderly parents sustained injury, guys. Now, the Nigerian government are saying that what happened was a security operation. They don't want to call it what it is. So, Kanu narrowly escaped and went out. That was how Kanu went out of the country and stayed there for so long. So now his parents were injured. 28 persons, but you heard from the lawyer's mouth that 28 persons lost their life in that RAD. Several people sustained injuries, even his parents sustained injury. And in fact, the case of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, that was what led to the parents' death. Yes, because they were, will I say, they had high blood pressure. That was why now, Kanu went to Kenya, was looking for a place to settle, and then later he settled in Kenya, just like the lawyer said. He settled in Kenya, and then Kanu went to the airport for for normal errands. When he parked his car, immediately officials suspected to be Nigerian and Kenya officials grabbed him and bundled him inside the vehicle, and then they zoomed off. Guys, the lawyer said that, I want to ask you guys, do they treat terrorists in Nigeria like this? You call this man a terrorist. Okay, let me just continue. So his lawyer said that they did not take him to a police station, even if he was a terrorist. You take him to a police station or in an immigration office because he's a foreigner. Yes, he's not from Kenya. He's a foreigner in Kenya. So what they were supposed to do was to take him to a police or an immigration office. Guys, they didn't take him to any of this location. We took him to an unknown location in Kenya. Put him on an unknown location, kept him in a room, tortured him well. You heard it from him. Tortured him. He stayed there for 8 days. Do they treat terrorists like this in Nigeria? They tortured him for 8 days and later they bundled him out. And would you tell me that Kenyan officials don't know that this thing was happening in their land? Now they tortured him well for 8 days and then they brought him out on the 8th day, put him in, went to the airport where a private jet was already waiting. A private jet was already waiting at the airport, and then they bundled him inside the airport. Guys, will you tell me that people in Kenya, officials, but people in charge of the airport doesn't know what was happening? They don't know what the private jet that was waiting there was for. You can see that this is a planned and coordinated operation. You can see this is a planned, and even if they wanted to bring back Mazi Nnamdi Kanu to Nigeria, there are actually legal process you take to bring back anybody from, you don't just, the fact that they brought him back without taking any legal operation, that is extraordinary detention. It is unlawful. They bundled him to that private jet and then they came back to Nigeria in the middle of the night. They put him to another unknown location and dealt with him. Before he was now in the DSS custody, we now saw him handcuffed in Abuja High Court. That was how Kanu's case went. Now, I'll continue that video. He said a lot of things, but now I want to start bringing people. Yeah, I want to start bringing people, guys, to come and talk about. I'll look at the questions I want to throw to you guys, and then I want to know your thoughts on this. So now, you guys know what is happening now in Kanu's trial. You guys is aware. First of all, I want to know your own opinion on the extraordinary detention of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. It's actually illegal. It violates both international law. It violates Kenya's law. It also violates Nigerians' own law. So now I want to know your opinion on that aspect. Now, how can that currently under Justice Omotosho now in Kanu's case? Okay, I'll ask this question later. So the second question I want to ask actually is, if multiple courts, just like in Abia State, Kanu won. Yes, in the extraordinary redemption, Kanu won. It was led by a lawyer, Jimako. This same lawyer that came out to talk, he won in Abia State. And secondly, he also won in Abuja. Yes, the acquitted, and he was discharged and acquitted. He won there. So despite multiple courts, both in Nigeria and abroad, they have come out to say a lot of things, and discharged Kanu. They have ruled in Kanu's favor. why is this that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is still in detention? This is the question I'm asking, and I want to know your own thoughts on this. So I'll be bringing up people, to come and talk, and then I'll actually drop my own, answer the question. Actually, I also talk about what I feel about it. So guys, I'll start bringing up people, and I want you guys to share your own opinion and your own views right here on this platform, and then you guys should keep the conversation focused on this topic. Don't say something different, and everything should be in line with YouTube's guidelines. No insults, no distraction, just clear, respectful, and relevant contribution that helps us dig deeper into the issues, guys. So I'll be dropping a link under the comment section. I'll be dropping a link under the comment section, so just click on the link if you want to come and share your own thoughts. So just click on the link. I'll be doing that right now. So this is the link. So if you want to share your own thoughts with us, you can click the link. You can click the link, and then I'll bring you up. You share your own thoughts. Just like I said, let's stick to the rules. Let's stick to the rules, and then you also manage your time as well. So that is it. So the question I want you guys to focus on is why. I'll be asking you guys a couple of questions. I want to know your own thoughts. I want to know what you think about it. Why exactly why the Kanu is still in detention despite multiple courts both in Nigeria and abroad has ruled in his favor. So I want to know your own thoughts on that as well. So if you want to talk on that, there's a link under the comment section. Click on it, and then I'll bring you up. You talk about that.
Anyways, taking you back a few steps, the little military invasion of 2017 was not unrequited, judicially speaking. I took the matter before two tribunals, or a tribunal and a court. First, I took it to the African Commission on Human and People's Rights, which rendered a decision in March 2018 condemning the action and calling it a violation of the African Charter. And they wrote to the President of Nigeria, they wrote a letter to the President of Nigeria requesting him or directing him. They used diplomatic language, but the decision was there that what you did is wrong, so you need to roll it back. You need to reverse everything you have done, which includes declaration of IPOB as a terrorist organization and hounding their members as criminals. The African Commission held that what Nigerian government was doing was persecution, not prosecution. That the IPOB and its members simply possess an inconvenient political opinion which the Nigerian government was seeking to suppress by means.
So, guys, I'm still waiting for people that want to share their own thoughts about Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's case here with me. Here, I'll be glad to have you as my guest. So, if you want to share your own thoughts, kindly click the link under the comment section. I'll bring you up, and then you share your own thoughts with us here. This is for people that want to come up and share their own thoughts. Just feel free. I want this to be a very interactive section. So now let's talk more about the Kanu, despite multiple court judgments, in Abia State, Kanu won. This is something me and Kanu won in Abia State. He also won in Abuja. So why is it that still keeping him in detention? DSS ignored that and still kept Kanu in detention for so long, even till now. They call it accelerated, but it's not. It is not accelerated with the way it is going. Accelerated trial is something that it has to be happening. In fact, Kanu has to be coming to court every blessed time until he is either jailed or he's freed. Until he is proven guilty, or if he's not proven guilty, that's just it. So now let's talk about the multiple court victories. the Court of Appeal ruling on October 2022. You all know this one. The appellate court discharged Kanu. I'm still waiting for people that want to come up and speak up. Click the link under the comment section to come up and speak up. Let me know your own thought on this, headline. So, Court of Appeal ruling that happened in 2022, the appellate court discharged Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, holding that his extraordinary detention from Kenya was actually unlawful. And then, they said that they struck out the terrorism charges. The judgment effectively ended the case. Any further trial ignores that legal closure. That's just it. In Abia State as well, in Abia State High Court ruling, January 2022, declared the 2027 military invasion of Kanu's home illegal and a violation of his rights, ordering damages. This shows a pattern of state misconduct against him. You can see, even the international bodies have also ruled on Kanu's favor. Yes, the UN Working Group on Arbitrary Detention on July 2022 declared his detention arbitrary, unlawful, and in violation of international law, calling for his immediate release. Kenya High Court as well, February and June this year, 2025, ruled that his arrest and transfer from Kenya to Nigeria was unconstitutional and then unlawful. They also, compensated him with 120 million naira. This reinforces the illegality of the process used to bring him to Nigeria. But what has happened? Nigerian government ignored it. Now, is extraordinary detention. This is forcibly moving someone from one's country to another without due process. It violates Nigerian law, Kenya law, and international convention. That is it. So by Nigerian legal precedent, once an accused person is brought into the country illegally, the court loses the moral and legal standing to try him. Without first, that remedy is in fact, that remedy is actually very illegal. So that is why Mazi Nnamdi Kanu always say, that no court in Nigeria has the jurisdiction to try him. Because of what they did, they adopted him. If Kanu was a terrorist, they will not go through back process to, bring him back to Nigeria. They will do the normal thing they're supposed to do. But because they know that he's innocent, they had to go through back doors to extradite him to Nigeria. So guys, if you want to come up and speak up, there's a link under the comment section. Just click on it, and then, I will bring you up. You come and talk about your, share your own thoughts with us here in this live section. I'll still continue the video over Lawyer Jimako. Guys, he said a lot of things which I actually want you guys to, take note. So now, they violated his fundamental human right as well, the right to personal liberty. It violates Section 35 in the Nigerian Constitution. Is being violated through continued detention despite multiple rulings in his favor. Yes, the fact that Kanu is still being in detention for this is 5 years in his, this is 5 years of Kanu still being in detention. It violates the rights to his, to personal liberty. Right to fair hearing is compromised because the trial is actually unlawful. The torture allegation and then the political interference. Guys, still take a look at what Aloy Ejimako said, his lawyer. Guys, he made a lot of sense. Just calm down and take a look at what he said.
Anyways, taking you back a few steps, the little military invasion of 2017 was not unrequited, judicially speaking. I took the matter before two tribunals, or a tribunal and a court. First, I took it to the African Commission on Human and People's Rights, which rendered a decision in March 2018 condemning the action and calling it a violation of the African Charter. And they wrote to the President of Nigeria, they wrote a letter to the President of Nigeria requesting him or directing him. They used diplomatic language, but the decision was there that what you did is wrong, so you need to roll it back. You need to reverse everything you have done, which includes declaration of IPOB as a terrorist organization and hounding their members as criminals. the African Commission held that what Nigerian government was doing was persecution, not prosecution. That the IPOB and its members simply possess an inconvenient political opinion which the Nigerian government was seeking to suppress by means of punishment of some sort. And they asked or directed Nigerian government to reverse itself. Nigerian government never did. Rather, it escalated. Well, subsequently, I went to a local court, a high court in Abia State in eastern Nigeria. I sued the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the Nigerian Army, and other parties who were confederates in that attack of September 2017. And in January 2022, fortunately for us, we won. The High Court made an order. The High Court reached a judgment that what happened to Nnamdi Kanu in September 2017 was a flagrant violation of his constitutional right to life and constitutional right to his privacy. And the court proceeded to make an order ordering the federal government of Nigeria or Federal Republic of Nigeria to pay him a compensation of 1 billion Nigerian naira, which is over $1 million US. The court also ordered the Federal Republic of Nigeria and the President of Nigeria to issue a public apology to be published in 3 national Nigerian newspapers to Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. None of this has happened. So we kept that aside. So when they brought Mazi Nnamdi Kanu forcibly from Kenya without extradition proceedings, I characterized it an act of extraordinary rendition. Initially, there was a misunderstanding, a broad, widespread misunderstanding by vast majorities of Nigerians who were mouthing the cliche, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu extradited from Kenya. No, that was wrong. He wasn't. I told people he wasn't. He was extraordinarily renditioned or rendered, and that is against international law, Kenyan law, and laws of the Federation of Nigeria. So while his criminal trial was making its way slowly at Abuja, with all the several amendments the government was bringing, they walked away from treasonable felony, insulting the president, importation of radio equipment, and bam, to terrorism. That's how it happened. And they did this 7 times. 7 amendments. If Nnamdi Kanu was guilty, why is it taking so long to bring him to trial between 2015 and today? That is 8 years. So what he's undergoing is not really a judicial trial. It's a trial by ordeal. Trial by fire. Imprisonment before conviction. They just want to get as many years of jail time out of him as possible because they know that with the evidence available, conviction will be impossible. And that was made worse by the extraordinary rendition, which I took also as a civil violation to a federal high court in Nigeria. And in October 2022, the Federal High Court came down with a judgment that extraordinary rendition was a violation of his constitutional rights, his fundamental rights, and they awarded him 500 million Nigerian naira. That's about $800,000. So all around, everywhere that this matter has gone to, including in July 2022, before the Human Rights Council at the United Nations. The Human Rights Council, United Nations, came down with an opinion that what happened to Mazi Nnamdi Kanu in Kenya and that brought him to Nigeria is a very grave violation of international law. And they directed that he should be released unconditionally. And of course, the Court of Appeal in Nigeria did come down with a similar judgment in same October 2022, discharging Mazi Nnamdi Kanu of all charges and bearing any further trial of his person in any court in Nigeria as a consequence, as a direct consequence of the extraordinary rendition. So what more can you ask for a man to deserve his freedom? How many have I counted? United Nations, which in this case should be considered a world court. Then you have the Nigerian Court of Appeal, which is the second highest court in the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Then you have the Federal High Court, which is the court of first instance at the federal level. And of course, you have the State High Court that awarded him $1 billion Nigerian naira. So between 2015 and today, 8 years and running, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu has snagged 4 major victories against the Federal Republic of Nigeria, with Federal Republic of Nigeria winning nothing. What more do you need as stark evidence, affirmative evidence that what is happening here, ladies and gentlemen, is an act of persecution, not prosecution? It's time to end it. On his behalf, I will ask all men and women of goodwill everywhere in the world to speak up. There was this saying about Jews. When they came for the Jew, you said nothing. When they came for the Jew, you said nothing because you're a trade unionist. Then when they came for the trade unionist, you say, well, I'm a scientist. You said nothing. They took the Jew, they took the trade unionist, and then when they came for the scientists, nobody spoke for you. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is a poster boy for all the injustices that a great race, the Igbo people, and their cousins in the former eastern Nigeria have been subjected to since the founding of Nigeria. These injustices became more public because since 2015 they have been escalated. So how do you fight back? You fight back by telling the system, I want out. I want my own country is not a crime. It does not require a bullet. It doesn't require muscular military law enforcement. What it requires is sitting across the table and talking about it. A lot of nations have been founded on referendum. That's what Mazi Nnamdi Kanu and the Indigenous people of Biafra were asking for. That led to all this conundrum, to all this saga.
So, guys, I believe you heard what his lawyer said, Aloy Ejimako. Now he said something, just that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, just that he asked for referendum, something that is his right. He doesn't. That was because he asked for a referendum. That was what brought all this thing, all this adoption, all this, and it's not supposed to be. This is something that they need to sit and talk about. It's not. He doesn't need bullets, doesn't need gun, doesn't need all this unnecessary violence, unnecessary controversy surrounding Kanu's case. Just that he asked for what the federal government would have done was to talk about the court routes, because something happened. Kanu did not just wake up one morning to start agitating. Something happened. There must be something. Kanu, clearly said that the Igbos are being persecuted. And if you watch what happened in the Civil War, Igbos, even after the Civil War, how they died 5 million people in the Civil War, there was no even solution. They were not even treating them like people that passed through that kind of phase. They were not treating them well even after the Civil War. And then Kanu rose up and said, the end. In fact, they were still killing the Igbos even in the north. They were still killing Igbos in the north. And then he said that Igbos, the Igbos must stay on their own. He asked for a referendum. That was just it. That was why, you can see bullets. You hear this military soldier, Nigerian soldiers. They came to his home by 28 people. Even up till now, there is no apology for that. There is no accountability. Abia State, even the appeal court said because of that, they actually violated his rights. That is actually wrong. That is one thing Nigerian government needs to know. You can see, if you check what this man said, all the controversy surrounding Kanu's case, Nigerian government is wrong. And they cannot, even up to now, they cannot come out to admit that, Kanu is actually innocent. They know that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is innocent. Like, let me see, if Kanu was actually, if Kanu was innocent, or if Kanu was a terrorist, let me use that word. If Kanu was a terrorist, you will know. Everybody will know, and Nigerian government will not go through the back doors to adopt Kanu. That is one thing I know. Because it was clearly stated by his lawyer that they bundled him to a private jet and then they flew him to. In fact, immediately when they bundled him to a motor and drove him off, they took him to Nairobi in Kenya. An unknown location in Nairobi. They kept him there for 8 days and tortured him. They battered him, guys. They tortured him for 8 days. And then on the 8th day, they bundled him to a private jet. The private jet was already waiting. You can see the planned and coordinated attack of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. In fact, according to what the lawyer said, he said when he came for errands, he actually drove himself, because after the raid that happened in his home in Abia State, he went to Kenya. In fact, he narrowly escaped. Although the raid by 28 persons, he narrowly escapes, but he sustained injuries, and then he started looking for a place he can stay, at least to settle. And then finally he settled in Kenya, and then he was going for errands. He went to the airport for errands, and then for him to park his car and alight from his vehicle. Then suddenly, officials suspected to be Nigerian officials and then Kenyan officials came and bundled him. Guys, just like that. Is that not kidnap? You can't tell me otherwise. They bundled him and then they put him inside a vehicle, drove him down to an unknown location in Nairobi, Kenya. They kept him in the room for 8 days. And then already on the 8th day, there was a private jet that was already waiting for Kanu. The private jet, they brought him inside the private jet, chained him to the chair. Chained him to the chair. Look at how they are treating him as a terrorist, when he's not. They don't even treat terrorists like this. In Nigeria today, they don't treat terrorists like this. So why is it after all these things, even when Nigeria court, even court outside the country has ruled in Kanu's favor, but still they're still keeping him there? Let me know your own thoughts under the comment section. They're still keeping him even till today. They're still keeping him there. When they adopted him in Kenya, they were supposed to when they adopted him in Kenya, immediately they bonded him. We were expecting them to even take him. In fact, they were supposed to take him to a police station if he was a terrorist. Take him to a police station or take him to an immigration office, because he's actually a foreigner. But then they did not take him to any of these locations. They took him to an unknown location, tortured him. Guys, tell me how this thing is not adoption, how it's not against Kenya's law. Even after multiple court victories, the Court of Appeal ruling, they discharged and acquitted him. Some of you don't even know the difference between acquit and, for someone to be acquitted and this. It's actually the same thing. But then Attorney General will come and say that, they only acquitted him, they did not discharge him, or he will say they discharged him, they did not acquit him. This is actually the same thing. There's no difference. They acquitted him and they discharged him. They were holding that his extraordinary detention from Kenya was unlawful. If Kanu was a terrorist, they will not go through the back door to do this. They will not do this thing secretly. They will make it open to Kenyan government that in your country there's a terrorist. And then they will take legal process. Even if you want to do this to a criminal, you have to go through legal processes. And then before you bring Kanu back to Nigeria, you don't just go and bundle him and bring him back. Despite all these things being done to Kanu, no apologies from Nigeria. They don't want to admit that they actually did wrong by adopting Kanu. They don't want to admit that is adoption. But in the law, that's extraordinary redemption from Kenya. It was actually unlawful. It violates Nigeria's law, international law, and even Kenya's law. I was expecting, for Nigeria to be sanctioned for what they did, but nothing has been done. Nothing has been done. So that was unlawful. And then the appeal court struck out all the terrorism charges of Kanu. Judgment alone was supposed to, release Kanu. But what happened? Nigerian government, they actually ignored, the DSS ignored it. Then they filed a stay of execution. That is why Kanu is still in detention till now. Another court victory of Kanu was the Abia State Court's victory. They declared that the RAD, the military invasion of Kanu's home, was actually very illegal and a violation of his right as well. Ordering damages that, this shows a pattern of misconduct against him. International bodies have also actually spoken. They ruled on Kanu's favor as well. The UN Working Group on Arbitrary Detention declared his detention arbitrary, unlawful. They declared his detention arbitrary, unlawful, and then a violation of international law, calling for his immediate release. Kenya High Court as well. Recently, this one happened this year, February and June this year, 2025. They ruled that his arrest and transfer from Kenya to Nigeria was actually unlawful. They compensated him. Finally, Kenya came out and spoke, and I was expecting Nigerian government to actually obey that court order. But then they ignored it again. You can see that Nigerian government, they're not keeping this man because he's a terrorist. They're actually keeping him because, they just want to keep him there for, some reasons. Maybe because he's going to, Kanu has been coming out to expose their lies. If you check some of his old broadcasts, you understand that Kanu has been coming out to expose their lies. They have built, Kanu will tell you that Nigeria was built with lies, wrong narrative. In fact, the foundation of Nigeria is just lies. And he has been exposing, that's why they went after him, not that he's a terrorist. Because if you check, the people that are buying people now in Nigeria, these are the main terrorists, but they have not gone after them. See, you can't tell me that Nigerian government are going after terrorists. They're not going after any terrorist. They're going after decent, people that are criticizing them. They are bad conduct, people that are criticizing them. These are people they are going after. Because Kanu spoke. If Kanu never spoke with his microphone, or if Kanu was silent, they will not go after him. Just because he spoke with his microphone, they have not seen Kanu with any gun. Even the DSS witnessing whatever. I thought that, they will show one truckload of weapon that Kanu kept somewhere. What is terrorism? And how can you describe a terrorist? Is it not when the person is armed? Have DSS ever presented any arm of Kanu that he kept somewhere? The only thing they are showing is that his microphone that he uses to broadcast. But look at what this unknown terrorists are doing in Nigeria. Unaliving 200 people, unaliving millions of people in this country. These are the main terrorists, but Nigerian government will not go after them. That is just it. They will not go after them because even community members say that after they finish attacking them, then there will not be any arrests. And you're wondering if these people are living in covens, if they are spirits. So why won't the military go after them? Why would they go after an innocent man? This will tell you that Kanu is not a terrorist. They're just playing political games with him. Deliberately keeping him there. Deliberately keeping him there. In case you don't know what is extraordinary detention, it's just forcibly moving someone from one country to another without due process. It violates Nigerian law, it violates Kenyan law and international convention. Why are you so interested in Kanu like this that you went ahead to adopt him? Let me use that word. I've not seen Nigeria or Nigerian government go to adopt or to bring back a real terrorist. I mean terrorists that have records of killing, because Kanu has no record of killing. There's no evidence that prove this man. There's no evidence. I was even thinking they're going to show videos of when Kanu was ordering for violence. Even the so-called Onyami that said Kanu ordered him to buy 3,000 people, he's nowhere to be found. DSS, even the judge was asking them to bring him to court, but then till date, they have not brought this man to court. So you can see, they're just playing with Kanu, keeping him there. Why terrorists are moving around, buying people, and then nothing will be done to them. No arrest will be made. Why don't you talk about why don't you talk with Kanu, sit with Kanu and talk about the cost route of their detention? Talk with him, negotiate with him how, why you started agitating, why you are demanding for self-determination. Instead, they, rose with guns, bullets, and other weapons to silence him and to silence the movement. One thing they don't know is that Biafra is a spirit. Even if you silence Kanu today, others will still rise up. Wise men, was it that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu will still rise up? Biafra is a spirit, because when Ochuku died, we were expecting that, Biafra movement will also die as well, but he never died. Kanu rose up. And if they even silence Kanu today, they are even raising more people better than Kanu to come up. So even Wole Soyinka said, you cannot defeat an idea that has come. You cannot defeat Biafra. Because when he was saying this, the people were thinking that he was trying to demoralize, the government. But he's just telling you the truth that you cannot defeat Biafra. This is an idea that has come because the people have been trying because of the persecution. The persecution, treating them as last class citizens, not even a second class citizen, treating them as nobody, as slaves. That tribe, Igbo, have been enjoying a lot even after the civil war. But still, they are still enduring, crying for self-determination for so long. So it is time for this, for Biafran government. It is time. Why don't you talk with him, sit with him, address the cost routes? But they did not do anything. Instead, they went and started confronting Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. Guys, take a look at what the lawyer said. The lawyer, Maxwell, he said a lot of things. Take a look.
When the president calmed down, the reason Nnamdi Kanu have a discussion with him. You have been having a discussion with bandits and the so-called repentant Boko Haram. Tell me the offense of Nnamdi Kanu, because he's agitating for self-determination, which is his own constitutional fundamental rights granted to him by the Constitution and the law.
Well, the government's anger is not because of the agitation, because they know that everyone has a right to agitate. But they said the way he was going about it, and then people were being incited. Well, that's even not what I'm
what of the wife of the president incited people during the election? The wife of the president, he incited people that Igbo should go. What of the one Oba of Lagos said that Igbo should go and fall into lagoon? What of those that came out and said that Igbos will not vote? If you are not voting for APC, you will not vote. What happened to them? Has anybody been arrested? That Nnamdi Kanu said something, then you now term that thing he said as is a terrorist, is a crime of terrorism. You charge him for terrorism. His own lawful organization that is registered in almost all the whole countries in America and Europe and Asia, and you now came to Nigeria, you term it a terrorist organization. Now you are now saying that now that IPOB is being recognized in almost all the whole countries in America and Europe. So you are now saying that America, France, Germany, they are recognizing a terrorist organization because you don't want anybody to agitate. You want to suppress anybody. If you talk, kill him, suppress him, jail him. In a country that is predicated on constitutional governance, it cannot work like that.
Okay, let's get back to the ministerial nomination of Bianca Ojukwu, because you said he took away one from Anambra and brought in another. But remember that the president took away the minister based on the KPI results that came out, which he was not even the one, that did the evaluation. It was the result given to him with which he did that, meaning that if actually the minister had performed, above board in the KPI, they wouldn't have had any reason to remove her rather.
Now, still on that ministerial list, we have 48 of them, am I right? And we have 36 states in this country, including FCT 37. So apart from Southeast, that have only 5, every other region have more than 6, apart from Southeast. Now, check since 1999, we have been having series of presidents. Just let's use what is going on now. The president is from where? Vice is from where? Speaker is from where? Senate President is from where? CJN is from where? Court of Appeal President is from where? National Industrial Court President is from where? Chief Judge of Federal High Court is from where? And they are saying that the people of Southeast belongs to this country.
The chief of
are you sure you're not? I mean, it's just like what I said too. I mean, isn't it time we started to be less sentimental about this diversity?
We have to apply it now. We are talking about, we are saying that the only people that are qualified to hold all this position, nobody from South is qualified. On what basis?
Are you saying that there's
But the chief of naval staff is from the Southeast?
Huh?
The chief of naval staff?
From where? I'm talking about the key position.
So
Number one person, number two person, number three person, number four person, number five person. The key position. We have three arms of government: the executive, the judiciary, and the parliament. You can never see anybody from Southeast there. Now, the point we are talking about is that when I'm not even talking about, I'm in court about lopsided appointments.
Okay.
I can avail that my process because I did an intensive research in that process. File it, asking court to view whether this particular appointment, whether this particular government is in line with federal character establishment.
So, guys, you heard what the lawyer said, Marshall. This is the lawyer of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. So now you heard what he said. Nigerian government negotiates with bandits. We have seen many headlines of Nigerian governments negotiating with bandits. Even in the bandits, though, the one I came across once at a time, the bandits said that that he will not stop buying people until Nigerian government stops seeing them as terrorists. And the attendees of this peace talk was actually military men that declared this same terrorists the most wanted terrorists in Nigeria. They were seen looking at each other, but no arrests. But they will go after Kanu and arrest him, detain him for so many years. So you can see Nigerian government negotiate with bandits, but fails to negotiate with Kanu. What made Kanu, the only thing that brought this whole violence and it's just that he demanded for referendum. Is demanding for referendum a crime? Is self-determination a crime? These things are his rights under international law. So how is it a problem? Okay, according to that journalist, she said that is the way he was going about it. Which kind of incitement that we have not heard so many Nigerian officials inciting people these days. A lot of incitement is going on now. So why is Kanu's own a special one? And how is Kanu going about it? Because he spoke and was exposing some bad leaders in Nigeria. Or was it that because he was talking about the Fulanis, or because he was talking about the marginalization of the Igbos, how Igbos, because that was one point he was, focused on how Igbos were, how they pied Igbos that time in that Biafran genocide, because he called it a genocide because the Nigerian military personnel, they left Biafran soldiers, they went after children, innocent Igbo people. The casualty was more of Igbo people. Guys, this was how badly they treated the Igbos. Even after that, even till date, Igbos are still marginalized. Chief of Defense Staff is from where? Politically, they want to strangle them economically. No active seaports in Igbo land, in the southeast. When you know that Igbo people are business people, they depend on business to survive. But you know one surprising thing? Even after all this marginalization, Igbos are still at the front line. Like, they are doing well. Igbos is one particular tribe that is, that is making Nigeria proud today. You can make your findings. Even after what happened in the Civil War, they can't even revenge. Just when Igbos are peaceful people, they did not revenge. They are just so calm. Even after everything, they're still calm. Demanding. All they said is, since you guys don't want to make things right, let us stay on our own. It's very, very simple. And it's not even a crime. Just that Kanu spoke up. That's why they went after him. So now I want to ask you guys a question, and then let me know your own thoughts under the comment section. So now, how can Nigeria claim to run an accelerated trial? Just like today, they claim that Kanu's case, currently his trial now under Justice Omotosho, Nigerian government claim that his case is accelerated. They called it accelerated. That's actually a lie. Because acceleration or accelerated trial is, it has to be happening every day. When Kanu started his case afresh under Justice James Omotosho, what happened? He was, coming to court. In fact, he was appearing in court every day. And then some months into, the fresh trial, what happened? We started seeing 1 month adjournment, 2 months adjournment, 3 months adjournment. Now, suddenly, Justice Omotosho went for vacation for 2 months. When a trial is accelerated, the judge is not supposed to go for any vacation. It's there in the law. But these people know the law, but they still violate it. Once you call a case accelerated, you don't dare go for any vacation. It's actually against the law. It's against the law. The government and court publicly declared this would be an accelerated trial. In reality, hearings are months apart, and now the presiding judge is on vacation without resolving the pending application, keeping a man, even with his health complication and everything, keeping his life hanging in detention in DSS custody. This is not acceleration. It is a calculate. In fact, they know what they are doing. It's calculated. Once a court commits to accelerating a case, it is legally and morally bound to follow through. Legally. Failing to keep to that pace undermines public trust and contradicts the judiciary owns order. So now, the only thing moving fast in Kanu's prolonged detention without solution is the trial space benefits the state with punishes the defendants. Now, ACJA stated it clearly under section 396, chapter 4 of the Administration of Criminal Justice Act. It is there. The trial must proceed from day to day. Once a trial is called accelerated, it must proceed from day to day until completion, especially for terrorism-related cases. But then, what are we seeing in Kanu's case? Adjournments from months, from weeks to months. The repeated adjournments and vacation gaps are a direct violation of this law. So calling the accelerated creates actually a false public impression that the judiciary is working quickly, while the reality is deliberately delayed. So they should stop calling this accelerated trial because it's not. It's not at all. And then the question I want to ask you guys is, I want you guys to share your own thoughts under the comment section as well. So now, how can Nigeria claim to run an accelerated trial when the judge is on vacation and hearings are months apart? How can? Now the question is, and the answer to this question is, for me, this is what I feel about this, this question. An accelerated trial under Nigerian law is supposed to be urgent with minimal adjournments. You're not supposed to see, when I think they started this case afresh on March, if I'm not mistaken. Kanu's case is supposed to end before August, maximum before August, if it's truly accelerated, minimal adjournment. Once it's 2 months adjournment, it's not accelerated, it's not actually minimal adjournment again. So an accelerated trial under Nigerian law is supposed to be urgent with minimal adjournment, especially for defendants in custody. The Administration of Criminal Justice Act, section 396, chapter 4 says trial should proceed from day to day until completion. In Kanu's case now, the court uses the term accelerated only in announcements, not in practice. They only come and tell you guys, but they're not, putting it into practice. At the beginning, it was, happening. He was coming to court every time. But weeks into the trial, we started hearing adjournments, weeks, months, now 2 months. This October 10th, I'm very, very sure they will still, adjourn the case again. There's a very high, the probability is actually very high that they are going to adjourn the case again. So all I'm actually saying is that there is no, even if they change, because why Kanu told Justice Binta Nyako to recuse herself from his case, because she refused to obey the law and she kept on adjourning the case. Isn't that what this Omotosho is doing now in his trial? So no matter how many judges they change, it will still be the same thing. The still old games they are playing, the still old pattern they are using. So it is better the lawyers take this thing outside Nigeria. Outside Nigeria. Although the lawyers have said once Kanu is not released on 10th of October, that they will start their defense. They will start bringing in both US witnesses to come and prove Kanu's innocence. both Kenya. Let's see how it goes on the 10th of October. That's like, um less than a month from now. That's actually 1 month and from now. Let's see, or less than that's about less than 2 months from now. Let's see how it will go. Less than 2 months from now. So now, like I said, in Kanu's case, the court uses the term accelerated just to announce. They don't put it into practice. Hearings are months apart. Now, the judge has gone on vacation in the middle of proceedings while the defendant remains in solitary confinement. Kanu still remains in solitary confinement. That's not acceleration. Acceleration means speed as well. It means speed. Speed is not in detention. The speed is in the detention without trial, not in delivering justice. This is a calculated tactic to keep Kanu locked up without formally convicting him. Now, in legal terms, this amounts to punishment without judgment, which is, unlawful under Section 36 of the Nigerian Constitution. That violates his, right to liberty. Now, the second question I actually want to ask you guys is, if multiple courts in Nigeria, even in outside Nigeria, have ruled in Kanu's favor, why is he still in detention? Let me know your own thoughts under the comment section. Drop your own thoughts. Share with me your own thoughts under the comment section. Now, for me, I just feel that, because, okay, let me just, remind you guys that Court of Appeal has already discharged and acquitted him, citing gross violation of his rights and the illegality of his arrest. And then UN Working Group on Arbitrary Detention on July 2022 declared his detention unlawful, called for his immediate release and compensation. And also, this year, Kenya High Court ruled that his capture and transfer to Nigeria was actually illegal. Why is he still in detention? The answer is, under the Nigerian Constitution, Section 287, all persons and authorities, including the president, must obey court orders. Nobody is above the law. Everybody is equal before the law. The continued detention of Kanu is not only contempt of the law, it's an assault on the principle of separation of power. Why is he still in detention? Because the government has, substituted political will for legal duty. That is just the answer to that question. They are sending a message that we will do as we please, which undermines democracy and the rule of law. Nobody should tell me that Nigeria is a practicing democracy. Nigeria is not practicing democracy. You can actually call it dictatorship. And then the third question I want to ask is, what does extraordinary detention mean, and why does it matter in this case? Extraordinary detention is like forcing someone from one country to another without due process. That is what it means. And then extraordinary detention is a state-sponsored adoption of a person from one country to another without legal process, like extradition. It's prohibited by Nigerian law, Kenya law, and international conventions, such as the African Chapter on Human and People's Rights. In June 2021, Kanu was seized in Kenya without due process, tortured and flown to Nigeria in a covert operation. This is criminal. This is terrorism. So you can say that Nigerian government, the officials that did that, actually, they are the true terrorists now in this matter. Didn't know what they actually did. Even both some Kenya officials that were involved in this operation. These are the terrorists, not Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. What they did is terrorism. What they did clearly is terrorism under the law. This is criminal under both domestic and international law. In the law, if the arrest is unlawful, everything that follows is fruit of the poisonous tree. So Kanu's trial is actually unlawful. Kanu says that no court in Nigeria has the jurisdiction to try him. His trial doesn't make sense because of the way he was brought back to Nigeria, meaning the trial itself is illegal. His trial today in any court in Nigeria is illegal. The Supreme Court of Nigeria has held in several cases that jurisdiction is lost when the process of bringing a defendant to court is unlawful. So continue to try Kanu is like trying to legitimize an illegality. So why, you see, Nigeria is a very, very lawless country. Why are they trying to legitimize an illegality? Something that is wrong, you're trying to make it right. Something that your own court says is illegal, you're trying to make it right. And then the question I want to also ask is, why not let this trial run normally? Why not let Kanu's trial run its course so we can know if he's guilty or innocent? Kanu has not been convicted of any crime. He's actually very innocent. Why don't you allow his trial to run the way it is without adjournment? Let's now know if Kanu is innocent or guilty. The other is, let the trial run. Ignore the fact that the case is already legal or legally defective. If the arrest or detention and charges are illegal, then the trial is sham from the start. In fact, he's not supposed to even be tried, sir, because he was brought back to Nigeria illegally. His trial is illegal. It's like running a race after the finish line has been moved. The Court of Appeal has already discharged him. That is the end of the matter. Under Nigerian law, you cannot keep retrying someone after discharged unless you overturn the judgment in the High Court. And that hasn't happened here. So this isn't about guilty or innocence anymore. It's about whether Nigeria will obey its own law, continue the trial. The trial is not due process, is a trial by ordeal. Continue the trial, it's not actually due process, it's a trial by ordeal. Lastly, the question I want to ask you guys is, let me know your own thoughts under the comment section. Drop that thought. Let me know what you're saying. Some say national security justifies his detention. Do you agree with that? Because that's what some people are saying. National security is not a blank queue for lawlessness. It's not a blank check for lawlessness. The Nigerian Supreme Court has repeatedly warned against using security as an excuse to violate fundamental rights. In fact, detaining Kanu is defiance of court orders. The role DSS played in this case, in fact, normally they are supposed to, the lawyers handling Kanu's case as at 2021, they were supposed to file some certain things, to actually charge the lawyers for disobedience, the Attorney General and then the DSSDG for disobedience, because appeal courts released this man, which DSS is supposed to comply. But they did not. They ignored the ruling. That is disobedience. That is clearly disobedience. Somebody said something. Somebody said, very soon Nigeria will make normal citizens crazy with their, I'm telling you, with their democracy. I don't understand this kind of democracy. I don't understand this kind of democracy Nigeria is practicing, because how can a country not disobey its own court, violate their own law? I mean, the people that actually, made this law, they violate it, their own law. I'm not even surprised. Look at the people that make law in Nigeria. I'm not even surprised. I came across a video this morning. The people that make law, like, what's his name again? The Senate President, Akpabio. He can't even cannot pronounce figures and words. He was like, this money is too much for me, embarrassing himself on national TV. People that make law, imagine, with the whole intelligent people in this country, very intelligent people from, in Yoruba land, in Igbo land, and I was, look at somebody they brought as Senate President for us, guys, cannot pronounce, figures in words, but they can eat money. They can loot, but they cannot pronounce it in words. I don't understand this kind of, democracy we are practicing here in Nigeria. During election, the vote doesn't count. The election is not free and fair. There's rigging. So what is the democracy all about? You don't even trust judiciary now. The judiciary, they manipulate them. They are not even independent. INEC is not independent. They manipulate all these departments. So what is democracy all about? What is the democracy? You can't even obey your courts. You can't obey your constitution. You can't obey the rule of law. So what is the democracy we are practicing here in Nigeria, please? We don't know the meaning. They don't even know the true meaning of democracy. Nigeria is lawless. They can't even obey simple instruction. They can't obey simple instruction. So what do you want citizens to do? Now, what do you expect from citizens? That was why this man said that very soon Nigeria will make normal citizens crazy with their democracy. Because we don't understand anymore. The law we are supposed to follow, you as the government, you're disobeying it. So what do you expect from the citizens? If the same citizen go against the law, you will jail the person for years. They will obey that same law to put someone in jail immediately. They will obey that someone to sentence the person to life imprisonment. Maybe if all these Yahoo boys in Nigeria now commit crime or loot or just there's even a news I heard $1. The young boy $1. They sentenced this boy to 6 years imprisonment. But look at politicians that have been stealing billions of naira. They granted all bail. This is to tell you what is happening here in Nigeria. This is to tell you what is going here. Nigeria is not a democratic. This place, what they are using is dictatorship. That's what they are using. Dictatorship. That's what they are practicing. So that is justice. Release Kanu. Release Kanu in the line with the Court of Appeal ruling, the UN directive, and the Kenya court judgments. Investigate those who authorized and executed the illegal retention of Kanu in 2021. This is what we expect they should do. If not, they are only causing more problem. And the 2017 military invasion of his home. These things they do to Kanu is actually very wrong. How can you deploy military men to come and cause havoc in Kanu? He was actually released though. They bailed him and then he went to his hometown with his families and friends. They came. 28 persons died by that day. Kanu narrowly escaped. He narrowly escaped. Till today, Nigerian government cannot even apologize for what they did. Rather, they are calling it security operation. He now went to Kenya to run away he ran away for his life because they wanted to buy him in that place. Imagine if Kanu did not escape, they would have buyed him. He went to Kenya, they still went to bundle him there secretly, tortured him. Do they do these things to criminal in Nigeria today? Have you heard of any terrorists they did the same thing to Kanu? Have you heard of me personally? I've not heard of any arrest of any terrorist in Nigeria. I've not heard. Community people, people that survived the attack say that, after these people finish buying people in their community, there's no arrest. There's no arrest at all. Why? Are these poor spirits? Do they live in covens? This will tell you what Nigerian government are deliberately doing. We expect them to release Kanu in line with the Court of Appeal ruling and the UN directive and the Kenya court judgment. Also investigate those who authorized the executed and illegal retention of Kanu in 2021 and then the 2017 military invasion of his home. Address the root cause of IPOB movements. Address the root cause of IPOB movements through dialogue. Through dialogue, regional development, and constitutional reform. Ensure that the accelerated trial provisions are honored in practice, not just on paper. Address the root cause. First, something happened. Like, Kanu did not just wake up one morning and start agitating. Something happened. That was why he was agitating. Address it. You guys talk with bandits. Isn't that Kanu you will not talk with? Doing all these things is going to restore justice, to restore the credibility to Nigeria's justice system and show that government is willing to be bound by the same law into enforcers. So that is just it. Somebody said something, let's look at it. This person said, Nigeria is afraid that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is setting our mindset and mentality free from one Nigeria spell. That is just it. Because Kanu has been coming out to expose these bad leaders and expose the foundation of they're telling you one Nigeria. It's a scam. It's a scam. One Nigeria is a scam because when I actually want to take you guys to the past when Ojukwu, when they had that meeting in Aburu, it was actually for one Nigeria, peace and unity. Ojukwu and who else again? Gowon and the governor of Kenya had that. Was it Ghana? Aburi. Yeah, they had that meeting in Ghana. I think it was in Ghana. Aburi. What happened? After the meeting, Ojukwu, they did not talk about division. In that meeting, that peace talk, there was nothing like division. They did not talk about Biafra or Igbos to separate. No, they were talking about one Nigeria. They scammed Ojukwu. They scammed him. He came back to Nigeria, they went after the Igbos. So there is nothing like one Nigeria. Right now in this country, everybody wants to separate, even Ijaw, Hausa, Igbo. Their elders are coming out to say that we are ready for division. We don't want one Nigeria again. What has one Nigeria given? What has one Nigeria done for us in this country? Is it not suffering, pain, mourn? Isn't that what it has brought to us? Right now, we don't want. Let everybody be on their own. Let's know who is doing this thing. Let's know who is causing insecurity, because they claim it's Southeast. If everybody stays on their own, let's now know who is the real terrorist of Nigeria, who is causing all these problems. So that is just it. So guys, I've come to the end of this live section. Thank you for joining me in this live section. Do also hit that subscribe button if you're new, like and share this video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.